How the ceremonial welcome of Emir of Qatar, Qatar's Emir Sheikh Tamim Bin Hamad Al-Thani is in India for a two-day state visit at the invitation of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Now, this marks his second visit to the country since March 2015. All right, I'm now joined by CNN News 18 Siddhant Mishra. Siddhant, what is on agenda for this crucial visit by the Qatar's Emir?
Well, Sharon, this visit is very, very significant. And this is the second visit of Emir after 2015. He visited India in 2015. And the India-Qatar relationship was stagnant for a long time. But after Prime Minister Modi coming to power, perhaps the relationship has been revived. In fact, EM S. Jaishankar visited Qatar 3 times in last 9 months. Prime Minister Modi visited Qatar last February after concluding his visit to UAE. He visited Qatar just to thank the Al-Thani, the ruler of Qatar, to pardon the 8 Navy veterans. And perhaps at that time only Prime Minister extended the invite to him to visit India. And now this visit is happening. India-Qatar relationship, as I said before, has been revived again under Prime Minister Modi's leadership. Qatar is a very important partner of India in Gulf. In fact, Prime Minister Modi's approach towards Gulf has been completely different. He has completely reformed India's relationship with Gulf. In earlier days, Sharon, India's relation to Gulf, if we talk about, then it used to be the buyer-seller relationship. Gulf used to sell us crude and we were the buyers of the crude. India was the buyer of the crude. But Prime Minister Modi has transformed the relationship, and now the relationship is more about a strategic partnership. The relationship is about how the countries in the Gulf take care of India's energy requirements, and India takes care of their food requirements. Perhaps that kind of a relationship now India has developed with each of these major countries in the Gulf. Now, Qatar is also a very important country in Gulf, especially given its geopolitical, dominance. We have been seeing that how Qatar has become the main destination for the mediation and negotiations when it comes to international issue, whether it's Israel-Gaza issue, whether it's a Afghanistan issue, which was discussed in Qatar, and perhaps the deal was struck when Donald Trump was the president in his first tenure. So Qatar has a very, very important role to play when it comes to geopolitics, and the most important point, Sharon, is LNG. India's vision is, Prime Minister Modi's vision is to reduce the dependency on crude and to increase the gas imports. And for that, Qatar is one destination. Perhaps Qatar is the largest importer of gas to India. In fact, last year also in December, there has been an agreement that has been signed between the two sides for to increase the import of LNG from Qatar to India. So that would perhaps be on the agenda.
All right, so this is a ceremonial welcome that is being given to the Qatar's Emir at Rashtrapati Bhavan. Remember, like Siddhant was also pointing out, that this is a very crucial visit by the Qatar's Emir after almost 7 to 8 years, because the last time he made a visit, the first visit was in 2015, and it is a 2-day visit that he has made this time in India. And remember, there is of course a lot of geopolitical developments that are happening as far as Russia and Ukraine are concerned. Apart from that, what is going on as far as the Palestinian front is concerned. So it becomes very significant that this visit is happening right now in India. Let me go back to my colleague Siddhant Mishra on this. Siddhant, yesterday we saw a very special gesture by the Prime Minister, who himself went to the airport to welcome Qatar's Emir. This actually shows the importance that both the countries shares.
Well, absolutely, Sharon. As I said, that Prime Minister Modi has reformed India's relationship, not just with Qatar, but each of these countries in the Gulf, because now these countries have also understood the growing geopolitical relevance of India, and India also understands the significance of being partners with these countries in the Gulf. So you see, from UAE to Saudi Arabia to Qatar to Oman, all these countries are now partners with India, and perhaps they take care of India's energy needs, and India takes care of their food needs. Now, that is kind of an equation, that is kind of a relationship that has been developed during Prime Minister Modi's tenure. Coming back to the point that I was highlighting before, Sharon, the vision of Prime Minister Modi is to reduce India's dependency on crude, and the crude could be replaced with the alternative energy. Now, the alternative energy is obviously the renewable energy, also LNG, gas. Now, India's focus is to increase more consumption of gas, and even the targets have also been set for that. So now, even there has been a deal also that has been signed between GAIL, India, and the government of Qatar to supply gas to India for the next 5 years. In fact, we could expect some MOUs to be signed in this regard during this visit of the ruler of Qatar. Other than this, as I was mentioning before, the Narendra Modi government aims to raise the share of gas in the country's energy mix to 15% by 2030 from about 6.5% now. So if India wants to increase the share of gas from 6.5 to 15%, for that, it is very important for India to make sure that India maintains good relations with Qatar, because Qatar is the largest exporter of gas across the world. So we could expect some MOUs to be signed between the two sides, even the state-owned company here in India and the gas companies in Qatar could come together to forge MOUs. We could expect that. Also, the sovereign fund, Qatar's sovereign fund, which is controlled by Qatari Investment Authority, is perhaps one of the heaviest sovereign funds across the world. Now, India definitely looks forward for investments from the sovereign fund of Qatar. So perhaps we could expect some kind of an announcement which can be made today by the Qatari government. There are working groups, joint task forces. They are in touch. And as I said before, that EMS Jaishankar visited Qatar 3 times in 9 months. Prime Minister Modi went to Qatar only to thank the Emir of Qatar for pardoning the 8 former Navy veterans. They were arrested, Sharon, in a case, and there was a legal process going on in Doha. India was pushing to get them pardoned through legal channels, but it had only happened when Prime Minister Modi intervened and spoke to the Emir of Qatar, and after which the 8 Navy veterans were pardoned. So that had happened only because of the personal rapport that Prime Minister Modi has with the Emir of Qatar. And this is the reason, as you asked, that Prime Minister Modi, broke all protocols yesterday only to go and receive the Emir of Qatar at the airport. Perhaps a very rare, exception gesture by Prime Minister Modi. Very few world leaders have been received by Prime Minister Modi on tarmac. So the Emir of Qatar is one. So So talks about the personal rapport between the two leaders and how significant Qatar is for India, especially in these times when India wants to reduce the dependency on crude and wants to shift its consumption to liquefied natural gas. And since Qatar is the largest exporter of liquefied natural gas, it is very important for India, perhaps to make sure that that there is a energy cooperation between the two countries, so that India could meet its needs. So there where Qatar is important, and as I said, the sovereign funds, we could expect some announcements from the sovereign funds also. That is also somewhere very important for India to boost FDIs and investments in country. And as far as India is concerned, then India is very important for Qatar because India is a net security provider in the Indian Ocean, and Qatar understands the emerging geopolitical relevance of India, whether it's IMAC being announced, whether it's the trade route which passes through the Indian Ocean, the kind of security that India provides in the Indian Ocean region to the trade route, perhaps is something which now world is acknowledging. So, strategically, India is equally important for Qatar as well.
Absolutely. So it is, we know that the kind of relationship that both the countries share, and that is why we saw a special gesture last night where Prime Minister himself went to the airport to receive the Qatar Emir. But, Siddhant, I want to ask you is that during Prime Minister Modi's visit in US, he in fact told Donald Trump, while he was addressing the media, he said that we are not neutral. We also want peace in the disturbed areas. So do you think that in this particular meeting, there could in fact be a chance for India to mediate for Palestine and Israel by speaking to Qatar?
Well, look, I think that would India would definitely share its perspective when Prime Minister Modi and the ruler of Qatar will sit for bilateral talks, delegation level talks. And definitely, both leaders will indeed discuss the overall scenarios in Middle East, especially after the announcement of ceasefire. And as Qatar has played a very, very significant role in brokering ceasefire in the Middle East. And in fact, India has issued statement also in support of Qatar, the kind of efforts Qatar has been giving to make sure that peace prevails in the Middle East. Middle East is also significant right now for India, Sharon, and especially the peace in Middle East is significant because the IMAC project, which has been announced on the sideline of G20, perhaps India is one of the crucial players in that project, could only take off when there is peace in the Middle East. So, with that perspective, since Qatar is brokering this peace, this ceasefire, with that perspective, definitely India is going to put forth its perspective on whatever is happening in Middle East, and obviously Prime Minister Modi met the Palestinian Prime Minister in United States on the sidelines of UNGA. Then Prime Minister spoke to Prime Minister Netanyahu. So India has been in touch with all the stakeholders in the Middle East, and India has its own opinion when it comes to the crisis in Middle East. So definitely that would come to the table. Also, people-to-people ties, Sharon. Let's not forget that there is a large number of Indian diaspora in Qatar. Large number of Indian workers contributing to the economy of Qatar. Their security, their well-being will perhaps come up for discussion during the bilateral talks.
Absolutely. Thank you, Siddhant, for decoding the agenda that is on plate as far as the two-day visit of the Qatar Emir in India is concerned. With that, we'll slip into a short break. More news and update on the other side. Stay tuned to CNN News 18.